Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm surprised at the amendment because it certainly makes a mockery of the role of this committee and of the motion that brought us here today, Mr. Chair. The motion that I brought on February the 16th that was amended, that brought us to discuss hybrid and virtual proceedings of the Legislative Assembly, and as we all agreed, that we would report our findings and recommendations to the Legislative Assembly by March the 17th. There is no recommendation in this motion if it were to be amended the way it's proposed, Mr. Chair, at all. It's just to convey a report that the clerk, provided to this committee, to the Legislative Assembly. We didn't need to have a committee for that purpose. Our purpose here under the motion that we're working is to report our findings and recommendations to the Legislative Assembly following discussions of conducting hybrid and virtual proceedings in the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Speaker. We have met only 21 full sitting days in the past 12 months because there was no alternative to in-person sittings in the Legislative Assembly as a result of the pandemic. There was no plan B. 21 days. At worst, we meet 40 days in a year, and historically, more like 60 days. So 21 days. So many days where where members were not able to do the job, where this legislature was not able to function to hold the Premier and Cabinet accountable, was not able to bring forward private members' bills and do the business of private members, which was not able to engage in debate on either the budget or the throne speech. In other words, complete the debate on the budget and the throne speech. Both of those were interrupted, Mr. Chair. So the ability of the Legislative Assembly and its members has been sorely interfered with. We had 6 days where we had to adjourn and shut down because of either regional outbreaks or the whole province going to orange. We started after adjourning on March the 17th. We had no ability to do anything. Members were unable to debate the main estimates in committee or examine the main estimates in committee because of the shutdown, and we didn't resume until May the 26th. In person, and even then, because of regional outbreak, we had members having to leave back to their regions, and then we shut down for another week. In the interim, we had 2 very short sittings, March 17th and April 17th, with a simple quorum, because there was no ability for anybody to participate who wasn't part of that simple quorum. Members were denied their rightful ability to represent their members, their constituents in the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Chair, so we have a situation where we now are facing potentially a third wave driven by variants, and we still have no plan B. We still are going to not deny members the ability to participate in the workings of the Legislative Assembly, in debate, in votes, if their region is locked down, if the advice of the public, the Chief Medical Officer of Health is to stay in their regions, if a member has got underlying health problems and their doctor advises them to stay in their house because of a third wave, will not be able to participate in the workings of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Chair. So I find this amendment abhorrent, based on the need, based on the impacts of the pandemic on the ability of this Legislative Assembly to do its work and its members to do their work and participate fully. Mr. Arsenault mentioned having to stay not being able to attend. I believe Mr. Damore was in the same situation when the virus surged in his area as well. So time and time again, we have had difficulties because of the pandemic. You know, we even this past fall, we opened the legislature, we were meeting on the 24th with the reduced members, and then because the whole province went to orange, we had to adjourn completely until December the 8th. So even as recently as February the 12th, we had members who couldn't attend because of the serious outbreak in Madawaska County, Edmundston region. So we need a plan B. The motion that was first presented here provided recommendations to the Legislative Assembly if it were adopted as the original motion asks us to. Their recommendations. It urges the Legislative Assembly to do this, to incorporate hybrid sittings, and then to revisit it once the state of emergency is over. So I fully supported the motion. I support the motion in its original version and its original intent, and certainly cannot support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Ms. Conroy, do you have any comments or concerns, questions?
Yep. We've been saying from the beginning that